Henry Cartier-Bresson once said, "Your first 10,000 photographs will be your worst." This is something that I think every photographer should hear starting out. That way you don't go in with the expectation that your photos are going to be perfect right from the start. As you know, my name is Cheryl McCall, and I'll be graduating with an associate's degree in photography. Being a self-taught photographer, there's a lot of things that I wish I would have known that I really kind of learned the hard way. My topic is rookie mistakes and some tips and tricks to help avoid those mistakes. So, when you start out as a photographer, what is the first thing you're going to learn? Your camera. The biggest piece of advice that I can give to anybody is to read your manual. I made the mistake of not reading the manual from the start, and there's a lot of information in here, believe it or not, that's going to make the learning process a lot easier. They give it to you for a reason. Read it. The second thing I want to say is do your research. There's a lot of forums out there, or even just Google search. The thing is, after you read your manual, you really want to read up on your settings, your aperture, your priority, your shutter, all of those things, your ISO, your white balance. Those are your main settings that you're going to use, and it's going to help you expose your photos properly. It's a lot easier than you think to learn these settings from the start, and it's going to get you out of shooting in auto mode and get you shooting into manual mode. Once you know how all of these settings correlate with each other, it's going to help you properly manage your photos, and it's going to make post-production a lot easier. Now, another big tip I have for you is learn your compositions. Rule of thirds is going to be a huge one that you're going to hear any photographer, any online forum, or even any class that you take talk about. It really does help, and you're going to see a big difference in your photos if you even use just rule of thirds. When it comes to post-production, that's another area that I kind of look back at now and realize I really ruined some otherwise good photos. Watch videos, read up on it, learn the editing basics. These are huge issues that can really make or break a photo. Now, to go along with your post-production, use a grade card. I can't tell you the times that I wish that I would have used this in the beginning, because it really does make your post-production so much easier. Something I did later in my photography career was actually finding a mentor. Shadowing a fellow photographer is something great to do because you're going to learn different areas and different genres of photography that you might not otherwise get into unless you find this person to shadow. They can teach you tips and tricks that they've learned along the way, but it's also just a great learning experience overall. Take classes, whether you go to college or even just take classes offered locally. This is another way to learn the ins and outs of photography as well as the field of photography. There's so much out there that can really help you to learn and to make the learning process easier to become a better photographer. Most of them are very simple things that once you learn from the start, you don't even really think about them anymore, and it just becomes second nature. Reading your manual, going to online forums and videos, getting yourself used to your settings. These are all things that I really do wish someone would have taught me. That way I would have struggled a little less in the beginning. It's going to make a big difference, especially self-taught, if you learn these things from the start, or if you wait till later in to learn them, because you're going to struggle a little bit more, and it's going to take a little longer to understand because you're used to shooting another way. I hope that everybody can take something away from this, and I really do hope that this kind of process of learning things in the beginning and using these tips that I've given you will help you to create better photos and become a better photographer. Thanks for listening.